I'm Lindsay, a former micro-apartment dweller with a love of hiking and camping. A few months ago, after a lot of setbacks, I finally bought this Chevy Express cargo van to convert into a camper. And with hours of hard work and some quality time with a bunch of power tools, I've already made some promising progress. So follow me as I build out my van with the hopes of eventually achieving my goal of visiting every national park here in the United States. After my recent road trip down to Florida with my brother, two things became very apparent. First of all, I can't wait for it to get warmer here. Second of all, it would be so convenient if this passenger seat were able to swivel around. I actually did order a swivel plate quite a while ago, but after waiting for 6 months, I didn't think it was ever going to show up, so I was like this close to canceling the order, and then a really heavy package showed up on my doorstep, and inside was this. So I'm gonna try to install it, even though I can barely lift it. Okay, I'm so happy that it fits. Honestly, I was very nervous because when I was reading about this specific swivel plate online, some people were saying that the holes didn't line up and that they had to drill new holes in the metal plate, and there was no way in hell I was gonna do that, so I'm just beyond relieved that it fits. The other obstacle that I might possibly encounter is the fact that these wires aren't going to reach, or it's going to prevent the chair from swiveling all the way around. So it would be a really lucky day if that ends up not being a problem, but otherwise might have to find a way to extend those wires or do something else. But for now, I'm just glad that I didn't necessarily waste $200 on a swivel plate that doesn't work. So that's all I can ask for now. So that was actually a lot less of a pain in the ass than I expected. I still have to reconnect the wires because they do not reach when I am swiveled all the way around, but I will end up just keeping it facing forward for now and reconnect the wires until I find a solution. But for now, this does work. I have to do a little bit of awkward maneuvering back and forth in order to get it to fully clear the headliner, but it definitely turns around. So I actually got some seat covers as a Christmas gift, and as a reward for finally finishing the swivel seat, I think I'm gonna throw those on now. Hi, it's me. I am under here. It's 8 degrees outside right now, so if I keep my face exposed, ice crystals start to form inside my nose, so I think I'm gonna put this back up. But in the last video, I insulated the van using Havelock wool, and while there were a lot of reasons as to why I chose Havelock wool, the main reason was actually because of these door panels right here. Basically, I wanted to be able to insulate the inside of the doors without having to use glue or spray foam or anything that might obstruct the door locking mechanisms and make those inoperable. So this is actually a step I've been pretty nervous about for a while. Mainly because it means that I truly have to commit to ripping out the door panels, but they gotta go, so here goes nothing, I guess. Even though it always kind of pains me to do some necessary destruction to the van, with these panels gone, it means that I can cover the doors back up with something a little better than just black corrugated plastic. Before I shove insulation in there and cover the doors back up, I wanted to see what I can figure out in terms of taking advantage of some of the extra space inside the door panels. So maybe using it for some storage back here, or even attaching like a flip-up table to have an extra surface. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for these back doors. And for the side doors, I'm hoping to do something pretty similar. For this door, I'm hoping I can add a flip-up table so that when the door is sort of like closed and this chair is swiveled around, there's like a nice surface to work on. And then for this door, I probably thought the most about this one. I'm hoping to add some storage here for my shoes specifically. And then I also bought this, which is a boot brush, and I'm planning to attach this near the bottom of this door so that when I get back to the van and my feet are dirty or snowy or whatever, I can sit here, take off my boots, wipe them off, put them in storage, and hopefully that'll make it just a little bit less of a mess in here. So this was basically just a fit test, but I have all the door panels on now. They look really good. I'm pretty excited about it. I've kind of just had all the self-tapping screws inserted where they will finally go without the finishing washers. And that way I can just reline up those holes when I'm putting it back on at the end after it's stained and cut and everything. So my next step, I guess, is to take these off, and actually before I take them off, I'm gonna trace around the border of the panel so that I have a point of reference to measure from, like so I know how far in on the board to cut to make the proper like cutout to set the box into. I don't know if I explained that very well, but hopefully you can see what I mean. This is what I'm left with. So, as much as I really don't want to cut metal again, I think I have to cut metal again. So, while I waited for the Rust-Oleum to dry, I basically spent the better part of my day just building this one singular box. It's for the back door. It is going to be the largest storage I have in the doors. And to be fair to myself, there's a lot of weird angles in there, but this is what I have. Basically, the back is literally the exact same piece that I cut out from the center here, and then I just measured the depth on both sides. On this side it was 3.5, and on this side it was 2.5, and made the top pieces slanted accordingly to connect the two. So I think that's gonna work. It better. So what you just saw was me realizing that my supposedly clever angled box design didn't fucking work. So the problem essentially was that because the door is curved and this panel, I didn't conform it perfectly to the curved door, basically because the plywood would have cracked. When I measured the distance at the shallowest part, I wasn't accounting for the fact that it's not the distance from the back of the door to the metal up front. It would be the distance from the back of the door to wherever the wood lands as far as it can bend. So there's a lot of trial and error, and I knew it was going to involve putting the doors on and taking off the panels, putting them back on, testing them, making sure they close, all that stuff. So that said, I spent until like 7 last night building this. So it is now 3 inches deep on all sides. I also did manage to cut out my tables, just roughly the sizes. So this one I'm hoping to use for the side door flip-up table. I plan to round the corners off, but this is just the rough sizing for now. This is the same thing for the rear door table. I like this piece. I cut it specifically so I had the knot kind of featured in there. I thought it would look cool. And then finally, today's challenge, I have to figure out how to get this shape cut out of this shape and then like make a box in there. So, I guess I'm gonna just start doing some measuring and cutting and hoping I don't screw this one up too. Might have gotten too greedy with how much space I wanted, because I think I cut the hole just like slightly too big, like painfully slightly too big. Fuck. My dad actually just came over and he made a pretty good suggestion, which was that I should just build the box beforehand, make sure it fits in the door cavity, and then I will see if I have to like recut this panel out, which I probably will, but at least I have like the important part done first, and then I can accommodate that with the panel. Okay, time for a fit test. The diagonal piece isn't in there yet because I didn't want to crack the plywood, but it fits, but like not necessarily. I think I will end up probably having to shave down this a bit so this one actually will be angled, unlike the back door. And the other thing here is that when I close the door, this mechanism comes out right here, you can see it, and that moves inside the door as I close it. So in order to make it so this doesn't get knocked out of place and or I'm not able to close the door at all, I think I'm gonna have to like move it about an inch or two upwards so that little bar clears underneath the compartment. Let's see. So this is my second draft of the box. It is now about 1.5 inches shorter, so it clears the door closing mechanism inside. And now I basically need to think about the actual depth of the box. I think it is a little too deep. It's now 4 inches. And that means that when it's pressed all the way back up against the door on the inside, this is still sticking out a bit. So I want to make sure I can either angle them or just cut them down a little bit shorter so that when I have the door panel on with the box inside, I can make everything match up nice and flush to all the edges of the wood here. So that is going to be a lot of work, and I don't want to fucking do that. And I think I'm also getting like a mild case of trench foot, so I'm gonna call it a day for now and hopefully leave the finishing of the door boxes and the tables for one last final door panel day. So I actually came to the realization that I don't need to use 2 of these per table. I actually can't really use 2 of them per table because of the way the door curves. They like start to cross in on each other, so they're not perfectly parallel and they can't fold down properly. So what I think I'm going to try to do instead is I'll just use 1, and then I'll actually put like a little base on it that has like a T shape or something that allows me to connect the tabletop that way so that it doesn't wobble to either side. So, I just really hope this works, because I wasted a lot of time on this, way more than I probably should have. Wow, I really think I did something here. It works. I can definitely say that. The table is like a little bit, it's got a little bit of side to side wobble, which I don't love. There might be a way to fix that eventually, but I also wasn't under any illusions that it was gonna be like the most stable setup ever. So I'm happy with it. I am well aware this does not look very good, but I think I have figured out the compartment for the side door panel. Once it was equal on all sides for the depth, I kind of just held a pencil flush to the metal and traced around to figure out how much I should cut off. I did leave a little extra because I do need to nail the wood panel in over it, which I actually recut the wood panel because the compartment was too big. You can kind of see how easily that just fits right in, and I figured I'll recut it and make the hole a little smaller so that it has like a built-in fence slash gate. And actually I'm probably going to do that for the back door as well. There it is. So the other day I brought in all of the panels and boxes and sanded them all down. So now I think I can actually really start staining it. Alright, that is everything stained, so now I've just got to wait until it's all dry, and then I can go ahead and seal all of it. Good morning. It is 4 in the morning. I'm gonna do the urethane now. And after 3 separate coats of urethane and so many hours of waiting for it to dry, I was ready to put it all back together one final time. So here they are. It was honestly a lot more work than I really expected, but even with all the imperfect lines and bent plywood, I still love them. And at least they're easy enough to remove if I eventually want to take another shot at making something even better. Even though I'm done using the wool insulation because the door panels are finally on, there's still one final step I need to do in order to truly insulate the van, and that is making some window covers. Reflective window covers not only preserve heat in the cold, but they also cool the van down in warm weather, and they add a little bit of privacy. So with this Reflectix, a bunch of little magnets, and 3 yards of neoprene fabric, I'm hoping my non-existent sewing skills will somehow allow me to pull this off. I spent probably the last day and a half or so figuring out how to use this thing via a combination of these instruction manuals and some Google searches. And I think I've finally got it working. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and try to pin the fabric onto the Reflectix now. Right now I've only got these 2 sides done. I haven't actually pinned the fabric to the Reflectix yet because I figured I will hem it first and then attach. In theory, I could have done it all in one go, but I don't hate myself that much, so instead of being massively frustrated, I just figured it was easier to do this. I've only got the 2 sides done, and then I will cover up the magnets and see how much fabric I need to cut on the other side. For the magnets, I actually have one on each side. There's a bit of material it needs to go through, so just for the sake of having them be reversible, just wanted to make sure. Also, as much as I really hate to do this, I think I am going to have to attach these magnets in place with hot glue. So my hatred of hot glue is too strong, and I've decided to use this, I don't know, like multi-purpose adhesive I found at Michael's to attach the magnets on instead. Well, I've been at this longer than I want to admit, but this is the progress on my 3rd window cover. Looks pretty decent. I know it actually doesn't look very good, but it definitely looks a hell of a lot better than my first one, which looks like this. So I'd say that's an improvement. But while I've been spending some time becoming slightly less incompetent at sewing,
I've sort of been thinking about the privilege that it takes to build a van like this. Specifically, the privileges that go beyond just money, which is undeniably a huge factor. Like, you can't buy a van or the materials or anything without money. But the way I see it, there are, I think, 3 main factors that go into determining how, like, difficult a van build would be for any one person. So in my mind, these are the 3 T's of van building privilege: time, tools, and talent. In my case, I have a job with enough flexibility to allow me to dedicate more time than the average person would to my build, so this in itself is definitely a huge privilege. So somebody who has children to take care of, a more demanding job, any number of factors means that they'll have less time to devote to a build like this. I'm also really fortunate in that I have a lot of tools and equipment and what I think is often overlooked, space to work on the van itself. I often go to my dad's house to work, basically because he has a bunch of tools that I don't, but also, more importantly, arguably, is the fact that he has enough space necessary to do a project like this. The van is mostly parked here in Boston, but I do go up to my dad's house to work on it because there is not a ton that I can do here on our narrow, packed street, but I do try. And then there's talent, which, let's just say I'm at a disadvantage there. All right, here they all are, finally done. Do they look good? No. Do they work? Barely, but they didn't cost $200, so that's good enough for me. My deadline to finish the van is only 4 months away, so there's more pressure than ever to make progress on the build. And things are starting to get pretty serious, since my next step is to tackle all the electrical work in preparation for finally adding walls and furniture. So far, my experience with all of this has made me realize that with enough time, I can do pretty much anything. But even though I have more motivation, experience, and knowledge than ever, time is the one thing I'm running out of. So with that said, I better get to work.